Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Highly Taken Podcast. We're not man down yet. We're going to get into the stuff first, but somebody has an interview today because they want to be responsible. Oh, Christian died halfway through the intro. That's nice. But I'm David Sleeper, back at you again from Tallahassee, Florida.
Still having fucking functional difficulties. Christian, Delaware. Hey.
I can be Nick Smith, Jackson Beach, Florida. Hey, let's get it, guys. We're gonna wait for him for a little bit to start off talking about the games that happened recently. A lot to dive into, a lot of great stuff that happened yesterday. So I guess if he's going to be a little bit, I guess we can go straight into who your certified baller was this past week.
I have two, and I feel like there really isn't any way around it. It's going to be going to both the quarterbacks that were starting in their first playoff games in their first season starting, C.J. Stroud and Jordan Love. There's really no way to go around it. 272 for Love, 274 for Stroud, 3 touchdowns, only missing like 4 passes, perfect quarterback ratings in their first ever playoff games, and again, in their first season starting as well. Stroud, a rookie, Love, a third-year player, but never found his way into any of the offensive playing time anywhere else. So this was his first season under his belt and also his first career playoff game started. And, they both went out there and performed massively. The only other person I could give it to would be Nico Collins. He had an absolutely great monster game for CJ Stroud, but I just feel like the quarterback play between the two of them was just, insane. You're doing it against two crazy defenses in the Cleveland Browns and the Dallas Cowboys, and for you to go out there and do what you did and manhandle both the teams, you can't beat it.
Yeah, and I'm going to stay with you there too. I said it was going to be CJ Stroud or Jordan Love. They have identical stats. CJ with only 2 more passing yards. I gave the Love just because they went into Dallas as the lowest NFC seed. Dallas hadn't lost a home game in 16 home games. As 7 seed, had never been a 2 seed, and he did that. But also give a shout out to Aaron Jones with the rushing attack. Yeah. I believe he had over 110 yards rushing with 3 touchdowns too. So a big part of that win as well. Again, we'll talk about it a lot more when Nick gets in here, but what a great game from both of those, especially just going out and balling. This not to be too early on this, but this could be the future. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure. No, you're 100% right.
And who do you have as your deflated baller?
It brings me so much joy to bring this one out. It's gonna be Dak Prescott, baby. It's gonna be Dak Prescott and the entire Dallas Cowboys team in general. To have the season you had, to bring the hype up about all of this. Oh, we're back, baby. Dallas is this, Dallas is that. Front runners for the Super Bowl. Yeah, how'd that work out for you when you just got 48 points put up on your head at home against this legitimate, crazily good defense, right? That did not appear to show up at all. Dak Prescott, shout out to you. Way to go ahead and contribute to the Packers score. Gave him a free 7. Real nice of you.
Really a free 14.
It's got to be that. I know he threw for 4 TDs and 400 yards, but let's face it, that game was over at halftime, right? As long as Green Bay was continuing to go down the field, that game was over. It all became garbage time after that point. The guy threw 60 passes, right? You only throw 60 passes when you're playing from that far down behind, when you're playing down the entirety of the game. They didn't run. They completely abandoned the run after the first quarter. They went straight to the pass. It didn't work out. Green Bay had their foot on the pedal the entirety of the time. Jair Alexander was locking up all throughout the game. It was no question. I know you made a little bit of a joke about it, talking about when it got down to about 4 minutes there, how it looked like it could have been a game again or what. That game was over, man. That game was over all day, every day since the second quarter.
Yeah, I was gonna be contrarian because obviously I thought we were all going to say Dallas. I was going to say Joe Flacco, but it has to be Dallas. All season the Dallas Cowgirls were like good. They were good. I was even saying how good they were. Dak was playing really well. I said he should probably be considered for MVP.
Yeah.
But you have a season where you go 12-5, you win the division, you have a historical offense with Dak and CD having career years, and you lose in the first round at home to a 7th seed. When you think about it, really, maybe we were just fooled the entire season. Dallas has only 4 wins against teams that ended with a winning record this year. The only 2 games they played, the only 2 games where they played a person that was undefeated and won. And one of those were that controversial Lions game. So I don't know, maybe they just fooled us. Maybe we just should have seen this coming from the get-go. Maybe from that loss to the Cardinals up in week 2.
Yeah. It's it's crazy to think about. I mean, I know for you and me and Nick, we were absolutely in love with it all last
Oh
night.
yeah.
It was the greatest thing that we've seen, all year. I would say probably the best football I watched all year, and I watched every Eagles game. So
I mean, there wasn't much good football being played
no,
all year for the
there was,
Eagles.
there was not. So, but yeah, I mean, it's got to be Dallas, and I like how you said Joe Flacco there for the deflated baller.
I,
Here's my thing with that though. It's just that Flacco's good for 2 picks a game, and he threw 2 picks. You know what I mean? Like you've been figuring out ways to win without it.
yeah.
But
Regardless, the defense still on that team gave up 31 points. Whatever way you want to twist, that defense still gave
yeah,
up 31. So,
yeah,
and then I guess we can just go hot take of the week. Do you have any hot takes you like to say? You were correct, dead on for your hot take last week. You did say that the Packers would go in and beat Dallas.
yeah. I know I was dead on, and I'm gonna go ahead and roll it back to tonight when Pittsburgh walks into Buffalo and beats Buffalo.
That would be interesting. And we'll talk about it a little bit later, but with the weather, I'm going to be interested in which team gets this done because you're very limited when you're playing in the weather that they're playing in Buffalo. So
Very
that's
limited.
going to be a very, I feel like it's going to be a very gritty game. And
I feel like I feel like it's gonna come down to the rushing attack though, man. And here's the thing: is the Bills have a better number one back in Cook, but the Steelers have 2 better backs in total with Warren and Terrace. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So like, I just feel like being able to have that flip flop and being able to save the energy, in that freezing cold and everything that's going on, that's gonna help. That's gonna help the Steelers out a lot. I think they're going to be running. This ball's probably going to stay on the ground 90% of the game. I mean, we saw, what happened in the Kansas City game. The ball was moving all over left and right, and there wasn't even snow there, or not a whole lot of snow, but it was just more or less just
really,
freezing cold.
really cold.
Right. So, yeah, you're going to see a lot of the ball on the ground tonight. I don't even know what Buffalo's field looks like right now, though.
Yeah, I saw I think I sent you something on Instagram about how there's Steelers fans and it's like they're trudging to their seats and like the snow's up their waist. It's absolutely crazy. Um, but yeah, I had a hot take too, and I don't think mine may happen. But even with Dallas's win, I'm sorry, Dallas's loss, our win, I don't
Yeah.
think Bill Belichick will announce. I think he will announce he's going to be retiring from coaching. I think he tells us soon that he will retire from coaching, either go enjoy life somewhere or maybe be a front office guy somewhere. I just don't think at his age, how long he's been coaching, what he's done, that he is going to become somebody else's head coach. I just don't think not that he doesn't have it in him, I just don't think he wants to do it anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like his time's kind of up. I feel like, but see, here's the thing though, man, is I don't know if Belichick walks away from the game yet. I really don't. And I feel like the only reason I feel like I can sit here and say I don't know if he does is because now the argument's being made very strongly that it was Brady and not Belichick. I feel like everyone's kind of at this point. They're like, okay, yeah, congratulations. Like you went to the playoffs one time, but you lost right away in that game. You got blown out, obliterated in that one playoff game. You haven't gone back since. You hold the 3rd overall pick this year. Like everyone's looking at him like, okay, Brady made Belichick. Like simple as that. Everyone's looking at it like that. I think, dude, I don't think Belichick wants to go out like that. I don't, I feel like he's going to find himself on another team. Look at a team like the Chargers. That's a team that can probably get ready to go and win. Go look at a team like the Raiders. You need a quarterback. Once you get that quarterback, that's a team that can get ready to go and win.
I completely agree. And I wonder if there's going to be somebody else in here in just a second who will agree with you.
Hold on, David. I gotta call you back. I gotta hop back on this in 2 seconds.
Okay.
Hold on.
Oh, where'd he go?
He just left. It's gonna be amazing to see. He just left. He says he's going back in 2 seconds, is what he said.
Was he answering a phone call? What did I miss? All right. Nick, back at you in Jacksonville.
I already did yours. Don't worry. Don't.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Absolutely.
No, he's coming back. There we go. So we can.
Yeah. Sorry about it. Our fan base out there. I had a job interview. I had to go crush it real quick. You know how it goes.
Oh, you got fired from your other job?
No, it's with the same company. But yeah.
Oh.
You got fired on your day off. All right.
So what's going on?
So yeah, I guess we can go straight into Dubs and Chugs results then. That you're back. We had some games play this past weekend. Some won, some lost, and I guess we'll see how we did.
Well, how did you do? I've been studying for this job interview.
Oh, well, I guess I should have. No, I was the one who had all the stuff on there. Just go.
How did we do?
Oh, right. Let me see if I can find where I
We can do we can do this. I'll help out. We'll
I
do the NBA games. You tell me the games
Yeah,
and
so the games that were picked, we had Heat Magic, Warriors Bulls, Hornets Spurs, and Trailblazers versus the Timberwolves. And then we had for football games, we had the all the wild card games minus Buffalo because that got postponed. And so for my
okay.
yeah,
All right, so
s-
who took the heat in this one?
so I believe I want to say we all three took the Heat. I
I
know
think you're right.
we all three took the Heat. In the Warriors Bulls, I'm pretty sure we all three took the Bulls as well.
No, we did not.
Did you take the Warriors?
I took the Warriors because Christian said that he's not
About the
betting on the
parlay.
Oh, it's
Warriors.
right.
So
So
hold
just
on. Here we go. We'll start with the Miami Heat game. We all took Miami. Miami won that game. So we all have 1 point.
Mhm.
Next game, Warriors Bulls.
Knicks
You
up
both
two to
took the
one.
Bulls. And I took the Warriors. Warriors won that game. So I'm up 2-1 to 1. What was the next game?
next one was Hornets Spurs. I took the Spurs because I said I was going to ride with Wimby.
I took the Hornets.
He took the Hornets. Do you remember who I took? I
I'm
think
pretty
I
sure
took the
I'm
Hornets.
pretty sure you took the Hornets as well.
Yeah, and Spurs won. Spurs won that game. So 2-2-1. Next game, I think it was the T-Wolves versus the Blazers,
T-Wolves,
was it not?
Blazers, and I'm pretty
We
sure
all took the Wolves, right?
T-Wolves, yeah.
Sorry, so 3-3-2.
This
What
math
other
we're
game?
doing.
How the hell did you just get 3-3-2? It's 3-2-2.
No, it's not. He had
Nick-
2, I had 2, you had 1. We all got that one right. 3-3-2.
How does he have two, bro? That makes no sense.
You have two. I have three. 3-3-2.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm sorry.
because
Okay.
he took the Spurs.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right, so then that gives us in the football game. So the first one was Browns versus Texans. We all took the Browns, and the Texans won that game.
Yeah, which we wanted to happen. So
Yeah.
maybe we helped the Texans
Yeah,
out.
we wanted
Maybe
it to
we
happen.
helped them out.
After that was the Chiefs Dolphins game. I took the Chiefs. Nick took the Chiefs, and then somebody here wanted to ride with the Dolphins and may have screwed him
Yeah.
over this week again. However, in the next game, we have Cowboys versus Packers. Only one of us chose the Packers to win that game. Then the Buffalo game's a wash. We don't count that. Then we have Rams versus Lions, and I'm pretty sure we all three picked the Rams to win that, and the Lions
did.
ended up winning.
We did. It was a good game though, so we might as well just talk about that game. It was a very first half game. Very first half game. Second half, obviously they both made adjustments. But I wanted Stafford to win that game. Kind of like they kind of sold him away. I wanted him to win that game. But man, Puka can ball. He can ball, man. And they fought, but we can't be mad. Detroit won, and now they get another home game. They can thank their divisional rivals for giving them that home game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Puka definitely had a great game yesterday for the Rams. I don't know, he had like a 50-yard touchdown pass or like a 50-yard touchdown completion. Yeah, I mean, it was a good game. It was a very balanced game. The Rams kind of shot themselves in the foot there on their final drive. You had yourself in a 3rd and 4 in field goal position, only down 1. And then you get a costly holding penalty that screwed you, and then a sack. I mean, you really kind of took it away from yourself there. You only needed all of 10. When you started on 3rd down, you didn't need any more yards. You were fine.
Yeah.
And then you ended up going backwards, 10, 15 yards, and you screwed yourself out of the playoff win in a way. So, LA did not play a bad game at all. But I will say at the same time, too, a lot of 14 of LA's points came off of 2 huge hitter plays. You know what I mean? If you take away those 2 huge hitter plays, completely different score. Now, at the same time, who knows? They could continue on that drive without the big hitters and go down the field and still score. But I just look at it and say, okay, well, 2 of those plays were 2 50-yard plays, 2 massive 50-yard plays. Outside of that, dude, the Rams didn't seem as though they were doing a whole lot. But then when you go and check the stat scores, somehow Matthew Stafford threw for almost 400 yards, and then Puka Nacua had 180, and they lost by 1. And you're like, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe that's just the credit to Detroit. I feel like Detroit was in that backfield, and past line of scrimmage all night. All night they were there. And then shout out to going to the offensive side of the ball. I feel like for me, every time I looked up in a crucial situation for the Lions, Amon-Ra St. Brown was always right there, making a catch, getting a first down, keeping the clock going. It's just every single moment that they needed a big play, someone to step up. It just felt like Amon-Ra was just always right there. And I love it, dude. They have a great running game going right now. They have a pretty good passing attack going right now. Detroit's hot. Detroit's hot. It's a team that's going to get ready to roll, and they're coached very well.
Yeah, they're getting hot at the right time. Same with the Packers, but we'll talk about that one in a second. But I mean, dude, I love Rahman St. Brown, right? Rahman is he can line up anywhere, but he might be the best person that lines up on the slot right now in football. I mean, he seems to always be open and a go-to and a security blanket for Jared Goff. Laporta's there too. I was kind of surprised he was able to. He played. I was surprised he was able to play. But like you just said, St. Brown has been carrying that team this entire season with the amount of receptions he gets every single game. He's been their third down go-to for the longest time this entire year. Even last year, third down, it was like Jared Goff knew he was throwing to him. And kudos to them. They deserved it. They deserved to get a win. Dan Campbell deserved it. Everything about that coaching staff, everything about the team, they deserved it. They probably ball out harder than anyone else in the league.
The only thing I will say to Detroit is shame on the fans for booing Stafford on his way in.
Yep.
Uncalled for, unprecedented. That guy brought everything he possibly could to that city. The team never built around him. That's not his fault. That's the organization's fault. And for you to act like the guy did absolutely nothing. You don't got to cheer for him. I get it. It's a playoff game. You're rooting for the Lions. You're not rooting for the Rams. You don't got to cheer for him. But there was no call, no reason whatsoever for the entire fan base to go out and boo him. And I think that, dude, it's going to come back and haunt him. I'm going to say it now. It's going to come back and haunt him. They had no reason to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing about this too, you guys have nailed pretty much everything else in the head. I'm more interested in what's going to happen beyond this year for this Rams team. I mean, this is a team that at least Christian and I, Nick had them winning the division, but we didn't think we were going to do that well. But you have an aging QB in Stafford. He's not that young. We got to remember that this dude's been in the league since 2008, 2009. He has been here a long time, and you got to wonder how many years does he have left? I mean, they have a really young offense right now. The defense, Donald's aging too, and so you got to wonder, what is this team past this year? I can't tell whether or not they're going to do amazing next year, or whether or not they're going to fall back next year either.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But I mean, I don't know, because if you go and ask, if you went and talked to people in the Rams locker room, this was a rebuild year, right? This was a year that they were rebuilding, and they found their way to the playoff. I'd be 100% honest with you, dude. I think when LA says, okay, look, Stafford's done, he's hit his time, they're going to trade for another quarterback. I don't think LA is going to go out here and draft another QB for quite a bit of time, because they found success in buying into a quarterback and then letting everything else build around it. They go out, they buy a guy who's already proven, they've already shown what he can do. They bring him in, they let the rest of the team go around it. I think LA is going to work that way for a little bit. And you're starting to see a lot more teams develop that way, going into buying out a quarterback that you want instead of drafting it, and then building his team around him through the draft and through free agency. And I mean, look, it worked out year one for the Rams. They went into the Super Bowl. Last year, they had some flukes. Stafford got hurt. Didn't know. You come back this year in a quote-unquote rebuild year, and you win 10 games and go to the playoffs. They have it mapped out pretty well for them.
Here's my issue with that. And this is, I don't disagree with what you're saying. The quarterback that I think is going to end up going there, if that's the case in what you're thinking, it's going to be Dak Prescott.
Russell Wilson.
Nope, it's going to be Dak Prescott. Russell Wilson he's aging. Dak Prescott still has some years left. He's almost in a similar situation that Stafford was when he got traded to them. I think that is probably the best person for them to go there. He's a mediocre quarterback. Yeah, Stafford's got way more talent throwing the ball. I mean, it's proven. But I think in their mindset, Dak would be the one that they would go to if they want that seasoned vet that's going to help them. That's just my opinion.
I just can't wait for them to trade Dak Prescott for Carson Wentz in that trade. That'd be crazy. I think next we can talk about real quick. I know Nick has to go soon. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Dolphins.
Yeah.
I mean, did you guys see the beer and the water freezing on impact?
Yeah.
I mean, that's that's not fun, right? That's not fun. I mean, I get it. You could go either way, but they were miserably cold in that game, and it was this is why winning your division is so key and getting a home playoff game. The Dolphins had it in their hand, and they just gave it away. They had it in their hand, and they just had a terrible record at the end of the year, kind of like how the Eagles did, but. That definitely favored the Chiefs, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. It was a fun game, cold game, but it was fun.
Yeah, it was a fun game, but we'll see. I don't know why I picked Miami to win that game, dude. I should have known the
Because you had
second.
to roll with it.
Yeah,
You're
I
already
had to. I had
so
to. Yeah, I
invested in
was
that
so
team.
invested. Right. Yeah, I was.
He was riding that wave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's crazy. I mean, like Nick said, I mean, you were basically a win away from going from playing a negative 10-degree game to a 70-degree game in Miami. I mean, the Tua and the offense just looked awful, and you can tell they were cold. I mean, it was cold outside. They were cold. 1/4 of his passing yards were from one play. 53 of Tyreek's 62 receiving yards were from one play. After that, nothing. I mean, granted, the Chiefs' offense didn't do much either. Butker had 12 points of their 26. But the
I
defense did
took
their
that on a
job.
bet.
The defense did their job. And you know what? Now Kansas City is on to the next round after a season where you think they did awful. They fell against a bad team. But I think the next one, if we're talking about games yesterday, is the big one. I will say Christian called it. Don't know if he believed in it himself or
Whoop,
not.
whoop, whoop. Go back on.
But
How about them boys?
the way it happened,
Oh.
I want you to know, David, that I wholeheartedly believed Green Bay was going in there to win because I said it to you guys the entire time as you're texting me back going, dude, there's plenty of time. There's plenty of time. History repeats itself. It always repeats, bro. This isn't the 90s anymore. Dallas is always losing first round. They have the worst playoff record since the 90s. Oh, my fault. They have 4 wins and 10 losses in the playoffs. You're right. But
it's crazy. It really is. I mean, the joy I felt seeing Dallas down by 32 with 10 minutes left in the game was amazing. Dak Prescott 1 touchdown, 2 picks with a 199 at that point until he stat padded.
At that point, Dak had 2 touchdowns. Okay, he had thrown 2 touchdowns, 1 to his teammate and 1 to the Packers.
Oh, that's fair. Sorry, I forgot he threw one to the Packers too. But before he started,
should get a negative passing touchdown for that.
Dude, honestly, it's crazy how much he did stat pad. I mean, he stat pad for an extra 200 some yards and 2 touchdowns during that time.
Prevent defense, man. They didn't have to play defense. They could have put scrubs out there, and they would have been fine. They weren't coming down.
That was the whole point I was making of that. The Green Bay offense just kept on the pedal, so it didn't matter.
I couldn't have written that better myself. I mean, you gotta give credit where credit's due, right? They shut down CeeDee Lamb. I mean, they shut him down. He could not throw to CeeDee Lamb all day, and that's been his go-to guy all year. And he was making bonehead plays the whole time. And then give credit where credit's due on offense. Aaron Jones, dude.
Oh.
He went ham in that game. Absolutely destroyed them. Had 2 touchdowns. And Jordan Love was slinging it like Aaron Rodgers was slinging it. I mean, you had these 3rd and longs, and he was putting it across the middle. And they're playing soft prevent defense, and I absolutely love it. Thank you, Dan Quinn. Playing defense like you did with the Falcons. I thoroughly enjoyed the fact. And now going into tonight's game with the Eagles game, we won the playoffs at this point. I don't even know. I don't even care if we win. Dallas lost.
Hold on, I gotta pause. Did you just credit Dan Quinn's defense, the defense that blew a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl?
I said facetious. Thank you for bringing your Falcons defense to that game.
But another thing to add to that, though, Aaron Jones is now the leading rusher all time against Dallas Cowboys in yards per game.
Which is insane.
Nuts.
I mean,
125 average yards per game against the Cowboys.
We expect this kind of stuff from Dallas historically, right? But this season, like I was saying earlier, you had the number 1 offense. A kicker didn't miss till week 18. You had CeeDee Lamb and you had Dak career games. You've had 3 straight 12-5 seasons. You had not lost a home game in 16. I think this is the worst choke. I do think this is the worst choke because you go out there and you become the first 2 seed to lose to a 7 seed. You lose your first home game in 16 games and you get absolutely decimated at home. I don't even what's going to happen with this team. McCarthy has to be gone, right? And how fitting to lose your job to the Packers of all people. I
I
just don't know where
mean,
this team goes from here.
how many seasons did Dallas finish with 8-8, and they kept Jason Garrett? I'm not entirely sure McCarthy's out the door.
I guess that's fair. It's just when you have the teams you've had the past 3 or 4 years to only have two playoff wins. One of them being last year against a very, very bad Bucks team who won their division last year. Uh, I don't know. I just don't know where this team goes from here. I don't know if you blame Dak. I don't know if you blame the coaching. I always think you blame Jerry because he wants to be too hands on. But I feel like this was the year for that team, and they just blew it.
Hey, I tell you this much though, I bet you Dallas wished they would have lost another game and not won the division.
Yeah, I bet they probably wish they were playing the Packers instead of
I mean the Bucks.
playing the Bucks and the Packers. But I don't know. I was glad to see it. This has to be the worst choke I've seen from Dallas by far. Not
No,
even close.
No,
would.
I still give it to Tony Romo. I'm sorry, that's the worst choke I've ever seen.
I mean, okay,
I'll
that
give it
was
to
one.
Romo.
That was one singular play, though. To be fair, not an entirety of a season. The Tony Romo missed field goal. Now that is 100% the biggest fail ever in Dallas history. However,
Biggest choke.
when talking any season, I have to say it's got to be this, man. I mean, you're a number 2 seed playing at home in a historical year at home, and you lose. You not even lose, you get shat on.
I just hope they go to Niners and just do the same thing that they did.
It'd be
in
nice.
this one.
It'd be nice because,
I really do.
if Philly wins tonight against Tampa, I really like them against Detroit as well. And if we play the Packers instead of the Niners, that'd be very interesting to say the least. But I would love to see what Jordan Love has to do. It'd be interesting to see how that game goes. It'd be in Philly. That'd be nice. But I guess we last thing we have to do is talk about tonight's game.
Well, there's 2 games tonight.
Yeah.
Kudos to those Bills fans that volunteered to go out there and shovel all that snow. And if they don't get free tickets to the game that is about to start in 30
They're getting
minutes,
paid $20 an hour.
that's not enough, dude. They're out in there miserably blizzard cold weather. Give them a free ticket. Come on
You know
now.
how
They
many
deserve
people
that.
probably came, bro?
Me.
Mm. Mm. The clouds were the entire time. I can tell you that. Did you see how white it was?
Yeah, true.
Okay, but
I mean,
I
we'll
guess
talk about that. We got to talk about that game, right?
I guess we'll go Buffalo Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, Steelers just without TJ Watt, do they have a chance? Last I saw, the spread was like 9.
It's 10, and yes,
Is
they
it
do
10 now?
It's
Yeah,
10.
and now that the weather's not going to play a factor into it too much, and they can throw the ball and stuff, I just don't.
What are you talking about, dude? It's still a blizzard up there in Buffalo.
Are you sure it's still snowing?
Yes.
It's still snowing, dude, and I seen people piling to the stadiums with snow to their hips and their seats and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll be interesting. Again, I think it's just going to come down to the line. It really is. You have a great defense, and the Steelers and Mason Rudolph has played some really sloppy weather games this year and have done completely fine. He put up 300 some against the Bengals in a really rainy, wet game earlier this year too. So it's going to be very interesting. Buffalo now has somewhat of a run game, though. That was their thing against Cincinnati last year that hurt them when they played in the snow game is they didn't really have a run game. They have one now, and it's going to be a battle of the trenches. Christian touched on it earlier. Buffalo has one really good running back while the Steelers have 2. So how is that going to play into tonight's game?
Yeah, so Nick, that was kind of the point that I was just about to make that David just touched on there was one of y'all two just said this Steelers even have a chance. And getting plus 10, yeah, I think I do have a chance. And that's kind of what I was saying was,
yeah, it was great.
Buffalo, if we're taking away the passing attack tonight, Buffalo has a great running back in James Cook, right? We know that. I believe he finished top 10 this year in rushing yards. So we know they have a good running back. But the reason it becomes a little more balanced is because there's no one to really rotate in there with James Cook. You don't have Dalvin Cook anymore. He's gone. What's it called?
Yeah.
Or not Dalvin Cook, I'm sorry, but there's multiple. It was a cigarette. There's multiple players that on the team that I just don't believe are able to be a good number 2 back. But when you're talking to a team like the Steelers, you have Jalen Warren and you have Najee Harris both there in a game that's going to be a predominantly heavy run game. you're going to be able to rotate and give each other, time to sit. And both those running backs are good running backs. Najee's the starter. Warren's the backup. I think Warren's realistically the better running back. But if the ball stays on the ground there all night and day for Pittsburgh, I don't hate their chances. I really don't, especially when you're talking in bad weather, because that means Buffalo's not going to be throwing the ball a whole lot either. Now, the one thing I will say to that I didn't add for Buffalo, a key rusher for them, might be Josh Allen tonight. And that could be could be the biggest difference.
Yeah, I mean, sorry guys. Talking about dinner plans and they're obviously changing. But anyway, I agree. Josh Allen's going to be the key factor, and like you said, they've been relying on Cook heavily. And I think they can probably still do that tonight and have success because they don't have to worry about T.J. Watt. But I really do. They need to get Stephon Diggs going, because he hasn't done anything in the past few weeks, and you need to get him something. You need to do something to get him involved in the offense, because you don't want it going down to where you have a shootout game and he doesn't feel like he can go out there and have the confidence to go out there and ball out. I mean, this game, you can ride this game out, run the ball, control the clock, do what you need to do. Now, I will say, I think Tomlin is the better coach in here. And if he can go out there and coach the Steelers up, I think they can get the job done. But it's just really tough to bet against them. And I think you're right. I think Josh Allen and I think Cook can get the job done. You know what they should probably do right now? They need to go and give McCoy a call, because he knows all about putting some rushing yards down in a snow game.
True. I want to say one thing too, real quick. David, I know I told you my hot take for the week is going to be Pittsburgh wins this game. I'm even going to double down on that, and I'm going to say not only does Pittsburgh win this game, Buffalo loses because they missed the last-second field goal tonight.
Oof. I feel like if they lose, it's because of a costly turnover by Josh Allen. That's how the playoffs usually go.
I think Bass gets the chance at a 56-yarder, game on the line, wind's going 23+ miles an hour to the left, and he misses it wide left.
Now we'll see. I mean, if I was to give a take, I feel like tonight Knox and Kincaid are going to be the difference makers for that Buffalo team. With how big they are.
They have to be.
I think
have to be short passes.
Short passes down the middle, blocking as well. But we don't have that much time left, so we'll get straight into the Philadelphia and the Tampa game tonight.
Yeah, well, already starting off bad there this week because we're playing without A.J. Brown tonight. However, I will add this into the fact. Actually, you know what I was just about to say, I'm going to go ahead and I'm not even going to say it. So I was going to say we're playing the team that I feel as though we're most likely to beat. However, playing a team like Tampa, dude, I don't know, man. Someone like Baker, and he's not even that great of a quarterback. I love Baker Mayfield to start, but he's not even that great of a quarterback. But the energy, the enthusiasm that he brings to the table for a team, that can energize a team in a heartbeat. And they're playing at home. You know what I mean? Like what Buffalo's playing, or not Buffalo, Tampa's playing for what? They're playing to just keep winning, but nobody thinks they should be there. Nobody thinks they deserve a spot there. Like the division, that whole division was a joke. So they're playing with nothing, and they're playing for nothing. And when you're playing like that, dude, it's terrifying to go against when you're going against a team that has nothing to lose, you know?
Yeah, I agree. But the thing is, this is going to be an interesting game for me. This is the only game this season where I feel like Philadelphia played a complete game would have been the Tampa game earlier on this season. Week 2, week 3, whichever week it was. That's the only game I can consider that'd be like somewhat of a complete game. But let's not forget that even with Baker being an quarterback, he had a great year this year. They still have Mike Evans. They still have Godwin. And the Eagles secondary has been getting torched the last several weeks by everyone they played. It's going to be very interesting. Philly needs to wake up their offensive woes. You're down A.J. Brown now. We don't know how Hurt's finger is during this game. You're going to have to rely on that run if you're going to win this game. Goddard's going to have to show out. And I think the difference maker here is going to be like it was in week 3. Defensive line needs to create havoc. The Bucs offensive line is not that good. They've been playing pretty subpar this year. And if they want any chance of that, the defense needs to go in and get some sacks and get some hits on Baker.
I'll give you a big game tonight off of that D-line. It's going to be Josh Sweat. He's been very, very quiet, like very, very quiet and unproductive the last 8 weeks. I'm telling you, he's going to have a big game tonight. Give me two sacks.
Both of our outside guys, and Reddick and Sweat.
Yeah, well, Reddick at least had 13.
What's sad is that that was a very quiet 13. A very quiet 13. It's really funny that people wanted to send game film about Micah Parsons. I wish you could send game film about the amount of times they hold Reddick on that outside. It's mind-blowing the amount of times he gets held. But I think you're right. I think Sweat can be that difference maker. But there also you can't forget about White. White is a good running back for that offense. And I think Carter has to go out there and perform for us in that middle in order and win that the trenches in order for us to be able to stop them on offense.
Honestly, to be 100% honest, I think the biggest key factor in tonight's game for Philadelphia is just going to be the linebackers on the defense, because there's been no linebacker play all year. And that's always been the problem, right? I believe, is Cunningham back tonight? Do we get Cunningham back?
I thought Cunningham was
back last week.
Okay, well then Dean. What about Dean? Do we get Dean?
Don't think so.
No Dean?
No, he's still out indefinite.
Yeah, so you're just going to have to hope that the linebacking core is going to be able to pick it up there. Now, granted, I don't think Tampa Bay really has a guy that scares me tremendously over the middle. I know Mike Evans is more of a deep guy. Chris Godwin is a good slot receiver, but he's no Deebo Samuel when it comes to coming over the middle, and we all saw what Deebo did to that defense. Yeah. So there's nothing that terrifies me there coming over the middle, but you're still playing against two great receivers in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and they're going to find themselves coming over the middle at some point, because they're not the Eagles, right? They know how to run inside the numbers. So it's going to find themselves there at some point, so the linebacking core just has to step up.
I mean, about this game, you got to talk about that offense, right? You got to talk about the Eagles offense. Right now, if I'm being quite honest, Tampa Bay's offense is better than our offense at this moment. Our offense is absolute garbage. Here's the thing. Last week you didn't have Swift. Right? Swift was sick. This week he's healthy. Not having A.J. Brown is huge. That's a big miss. Relying on Julio Jones is not good. Relying on a Jalen Hurts, that's probably only going to be at 70% this year.
Smitty.
Of course, Smitty's going to have a game. Of course, but you have to have someone that was like A.J. Brown on that third down. And
okay,
if they don't use Goddard tonight, we're losing that game.
So I'm gonna just come back with you. David already sent it in the chat earlier. Don't know if you saw it. Julio Jones's career against the Bucs is actually insane. The guy goes wild against the Buccaneers. But not only that, you just talked about needing a guy like A.J. Brown on the third downs. What kind of receiver is A.J. Brown? He's a big body, get the ball receiver who's in his prime right now. And what was Julio Jones in his prime? The exact same thing. You have that, but you have an older version of it. You don't need him to be 2016 Julio Jones for the rest of the playoffs, but you need one game out of him to step up, get the last bit of juice, show us why we gave you a contract. Here you are, bing, bam, thank you, ma'am. 6 catches, 125 yards, and a touchdown. Julio Jones tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing I'll say is the big word you used was going to be when you're talking about him, but you're going to need that from him. You're also going to need Smitty to have a night. You're going to need the offensive line to have a night, and you're going to need to have a Jalen Hurts night. He's going to have to use his legs, whether he wants to or not. He's going to have to use his legs, because we don't know how his throwing hand is. We don't know how that finger is right now. Obviously, he's playing the game. The offensive line is going to do what they do. The offensive line is going to block, because they are one of the best offensive lines. So you're going to have to use that to your advantage. And you're finally going to have to be creative with your play calls. You don't need this stagnant offense. Losing your best wide receiver is going to have to force you to be creative with your play calls. You can't be calling these same plays you are, because you're missing that guy. So it's going to be very interesting what Johnson does, and boy, do I hope that somebody takes him as a head coach, because I cannot stand his offense.
You can have him. We'll give on a silver platter.
Right,
he's all yours.
I'll personally drive him myself to Nashville.
He is the shittiest offensive coordinator I've ever seen in the game of football. With the amount of talent that is on that offense, to look that bad, bro, you're miserable. And I'm sorry, Sirianni, you're screwing the Philly fan base over by not taking over those play calls. That is on you. And if you lose this game, Philly fans will be coming for your job. They will go for your job, because you can't. Christian, how many people do you know right now are already talking about Sirianni should be gone? That's what I'm trying to tell you.
There's a
lot of Philly fan Philly fans are going to go for his job if they lose this game. They're relentless, man.
I understand
They're
that.
relentless.
I feel like right now, I feel like everything that I'm seeing, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm not agreeing with you because everything that I'm seeing, it's a very 50-50 split. There's the people
There's too many good coaches out there
there's
for
the people
him to mess up.
there's the people who get mad at Sirianni for what's happening right this second. But then there's also people who are able to sit back and realize what he's done in 3 years, how good of a coach he actually is, and understand that even if we go out and lose tonight, he has warranted himself one more chance next year to show that it won't happen again. Now, if it happens again, then goodbye. But dude, we're talking about a coach that just took us to the Super Bowl a year ago. Before that, came in and took over in a 3-11 team and took us to the playoffs, going 9-8, bro. With Jalen Hurts starting, or not even Jalen Hurts starting at quarterback that year, his first fucking year, dude. Like,
I'm not
know,
disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you, but they did it to Doug Peterson, so they're not going to stop them from. They're not Philly
Well, that was
fans.
smart. Look what Dougie P did this year.
Dude, I'm telling you, I don't disagree with you. I'm just letting you know how relentless Philly fans are. We want success immediately, except for the Sixers. That's the only one. We trust the process one time. We gave Philly sports one time, and they let us down.
And beat at 41 today.
So it will not happen again. It will not happen again.
Nick Nurse
they won a championship in Philadelphia. Doesn't matter what it is, they won it there. They want that championship. And if he doesn't get the job done by winning this game, his job's going to be on the line. There's too many good coaches out there for them not to go and look at possibly firing him. I hate to say it, but it's the truth.
That is true.
I'm just waiting for a Covey punt return tonight.
Oh, we
he's
need
looking
one.
good all year.
We need
looking
one.
good all year. I'm just saying.
He's done amazing. He's yet to have one. And don't be surprised. Line him up in the slot. Get the ball in his hands. He's quick. He's a quick motherfucker, man. Give him the ball. Christian, yes, I know you've been saying it all day. Guys, I got to go. Got to get ready for dinner. But as always, enjoy these games today.
Tell your friends, tell your
Let's go Birds. Let's go Birds.
I'm gonna go to the
Got this one.
Listen up, let me
Go.
introduce
Alrighty, boys.
you. The
Bye.
Great talking.
As we bring the heat is true. Hosted by David, Nick, and Christian. That's a crew that drop knowledge and hot takes at the sports IQ. We dive into the game from hoops to gridiron, analyzing every play like we was the champion. With witty banter and humor, we keep the fun. HTP fam, we always bring the number one.